this episode, we discuss that humans are governed by the laws of nature, and especially we put forward the idea that the laws of human behavior need only to be found and not invented. We are now in the countryside in Romania. It's quite beautiful out here. It's a nice sunset. We might also see some deers running around, and it's actually a beautiful day. Hello and welcome back. This is Andrei, and in this episode we are going to discuss about the nature and the laws of nature and how this applies to human behavior. And I will give you a bit of introduction about my way of thinking in the past, which was mostly analytical, and now what I think that the world is doing in regards to human behavior. Then I want to discuss with you two of such laws which I call them found, and then I want to explain more about the reasoning and why do we need to think about these laws as something which is found rather than invented, created, or something, and lastly put forward the idea that we just need to search for these laws and find them rather than think that it's magic or something of that nature. So let's start with the main point. So in the past, I was trying to understand the world and especially humans through an analytical lens, trying to ask why do people do X, Y, and Z, and trying to find an actual analytical reason why that happens. And, there are many questions, and some of them are like, why do people call them expensive clothes? Why do people, drink alcohol or drink sugar juices or drink something which they know that it's not good? Or for example, why do people call them smoke cigarettes? And firstly, these are irrational things, but the deeper question is like, the answer is not analytical in the sense that you can't logically explain that happens because people know it's something bad. But the main point, if we look at more than just this, simple questions about day-to-day behavior like smoking, drinking, things of that nature, is there something, universal, like a framework of thinking that we can relate to? In the sense, like, is there a question? Like, that's the question that we are trying to ask. How can we more generally try to explain human behavior in a way that relates to something which is in the nature? Because now I started to move away from an analytical search of answers with why humans work in a specific way, and more looking through the lens of the laws of nature. So the basic point is that humans are part of nature. We are natural beings, even though the naysayers could argue that we are more intelligent than other things, or we can do this, we can do that, we invented rockets, we invented things. The point remains that humans are just part of nature. So we are natural beings in the sense that a monkey is a natural being, a tree is a natural being, and the world actually exists. And I can't emphasize enough the idea that humans are just part of nature. So we are natural beings. And starting with this assumption, actual fact, that humans are natural beings, we start looking through the lens of what happens in the natural world and try to extrapolate that to what happens to humans. And now I want to argue that because humans are part of nature, some laws which just exist in the universe apply to us as well. Now, let's talk about the two laws which I currently found, and they are interesting. And the first one is that humans can't skip stages. And what I mean by this is that there are assumptions that, people can't. The basic idea is that people want to move fast through things. People people seek something and they want that quickly. So from the problem that they want that quickly, they want to skip stages, in the sense that think of these stages as something which is mandatory to do in order to achieve something. And for example, something which is in a stepwise fashion is the school system, in the sense that every school step which you take, like you go to the kindergarten, you go to the middle school, you go to the high school, university, master's, PhD, it's a clear step into this. And the point is that you can't skip one of them. Like you just can't say skip the university in order to go straight to the PhD. And there is an underlying reason for that, in the sense that you just can't get that knowledge outside. Now, I'm not talking about extreme cases, but I'm talking about like the actual thing which happens with 99.8% of people. And there are other ways in which in learning you can't skip something. Like there is this saying that you need to have a strong foundation and then you can put on that foundation, but you can't skip learning something, because this becomes a hole in your understanding, which later on you will find that out. And why would that happen? So take agriculture, for example, and this is the thing which happens in nature, is that in agriculture, like if you have a crop, it has natural stages from when it's seeded until it dies. So you plant the seed, you put some water, you wait, it starts growing, you put some pesticides, the sun comes, and it's a natural progression through its stages. But the point is that you can't skip one of them. Like you just can't, not water the actual plant because it's gonna die. Or the plant can't just, skip the photosynthesis during the day just to do something else. Surely, this is the key, is that you can make some stages go fast. For example, you can learn something faster by having a better teacher or a better learning resource. Or in the idea of crops, you can make it grow faster. You put some pesticides, you put some things, some substances which make it grow faster. But the point is that you can't skip the stage. And it's the same to humans. As a human, you just can't skip a stage. You can't become an adult. And this is one of the laws. You can't skip stages. And what's the application of this? Like, what's the actual thing that we want to use it for? We should stop going for the quick thing, in the sense that anything which is quick doesn't exist, because you can't skip stages. Like you just can't, build a business tomorrow because you don't have the experience. And in order to get the experience, which is this stage of getting experience, you need to put in the time, the work, the years. And the point is, stop seeking something quick because you can't skip the stage. Why can't you do that? Because this is what happens in nature. You just can't skip. The other law of the universe, which clearly applies to humans, is that nature doesn't like differences. Nature tries to make things converge to their mean. And what I mean by that is that, for example, temperature, heat always moves from something which is hot to something which is cold. So it always goes in the direction of hot, cold. Now, I know that this is how it happens in the world, but have you ever thought about the question, why wouldn't it go the other way? Like, why would something become colder in order to transfer some heat as energy to something to become warmer? The question is like, why do things, go to the mean rather than move apart? It's a question that I can't answer because, that's the way the world works. But it's important to realize that that's the point. This is how the world works. Like, it's just the way it is that heat goes to the middle. And we need to accept that. We just take that as a law. And this is something which happens in the universe. That's fine. But the point is that we need to take that as a fact, which purely happens. Another example where things converge to the mean is that, think of a lake. The water is flat and you take a bottle of water, you throw the water in the lake. And for the second when you throw the water, the lake is, there is more water in one part of the lake, but then the level of the lake gets to the average. It's flat. It converges to the mean. And these are examples which happens in the nature. But now the question becomes, how do we actually use this in practice? And starting from the thing that the nature converges to its mean, nature hates difference. It's the same to humans. And one example is circle of friends. There is one saying that everyone is the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. And this saying didn't appear from nowhere. It's like common wisdom, which is shared in society. But point is that why would it be that you are the average, the mean of the 5 people around you? And you can make a correlation with the fact that things in the universe just converge to the mean. So when you join a group of people, you are going to become the mean of that group of people. It's not like you are going to become better than them. Like there's not going to be progress in the sense that you become better and you track them. It's going to be the reverse in the sense that you are going to fit to the mean. Sure that you might contribute to the group and move the mean a bit, but the point and the rule is that you are going to converge to the mean of that group. And that's the point. So we saw 2 laws which apply in the universe, and we drew some correlations with what happens with human beings. And now I want to make the point, like, why would it be this way? Like, why do I think that we need to look at the world through a lens of an explorer rather than an analytical scientist? So now the question that we need to answer in order to realize that we need to look at the world as explorers, as scientists, rather than analytical thinkers, is to look at how scientists go in the world and find out the laws of nature. And we just need to draw some correlations and find the actual pattern which happens. So if you look at physics, chemistry, biology, like we have laws which we try to understand the world, but the main pattern is that these laws of the universe, they just exist. Like gravity just exists. Things in chemistry, like the reaction, it just exists. Like the way to create the substances that we create and we are going to create in the future, it just exists. In the sense that, and this is the point, we just need to find those things. We don't invent these things. It's not like somebody invented the law of gravity. They just discovered it. So they literally look at the world and try to understand what happens. But again, and I want to emphasize this, things, these laws, they just exist. Scientists just go and find them. Einstein or Newton or these people, they try to understand the world by literally watching and getting some data and finding the actual mathematical formula which explains that phenomenon. But the phenomenon existed before them. So the point is that in natural sciences, physical sciences, physics, chemistry, people just discover, you just find this law. And I can't emphasize this enough, that you just find it. And this is the point that I want to make, in that in human behavior and in things relating to humans, because extrapolating from the fact that we are part of nature, we just need to find these laws of nature. It's not like you're going to invent or change them or something else. And it's not analytical. It's just these laws exist and our task is to find them. And how do you find them? You are an explorer, you think of the world, and you apply, basically the scientific method, which is literally get some data, meaning watch 100 people, find a pattern which is there and think about it. And when you get to like a simplicity, for example, with this thing that you can't skip stages, like this is something which is an actual law of the human beings. I want to leave this video with the key idea that the laws of human behavior, I believe they just exist, and our task is to find them. Why they exist? Because humans are part of nature. Nature has laws. Laws exist. People just find them. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you in the next video. And in the meantime, keep safe.